Okay, so here we are, Deer Park roof. So unfortunately, to be the bearer of bad news, this is like an old car that you've tried to maintain and it's just got to be replaced. Simple issues like, just cutting this back and reflashing it and correcting the flashing failure. If you'll look up the video from the old roof, you'll see that the entire perimeter has a 3-layer flashing system: roofing cement, bonding element, it's a bonding fabric, and then roofing cement on top of the capping, which goes over top of the new roof. They started out doing that well here and then just left it, I guess because it was exterior. They thought it wouldn't be a big deal, but the problem is it's a big deal. The material, however many moons ago it was installed, is no longer bonding correctly. As you can see, this should have been flashing cement, not caulk. Silicone will never bond to an asphalt-based product. The issue starts here. And the problem is, rather than just putting new capping on around the rake sides, the A sides, I should say, layman's terms, and doing a 3-layered flashing element, this should have been installed onto the new rubber. I'll make this as quick as possible. So you have all these bubbles, right? Where do the bubbles come from? The bubbles are not the issue. This is the issue. The integrity of the roof is gone. It's no longer a solid surface. You have all these splits and cracks just from, 20, 30 years of the sun heating it and expanding, cold shrinking it, heating, expanding. You only get a certain amount of time out of your roof. So these are everywhere. Some of them are larger than others. But again, like I said, this is not just to simply cut it and flash it or put a piece of rubber over it, because the roof itself is done. The equivalent parallel that I can make comparatively is that you go, because you realize you have a flat tire, you take it to the shop hoping that you can get it plugged, and you find out you've got steel tread showing. It's just given all it can give. It's done. This is where the water is coming from, because water gets in, rolls down the roof, the sun comes out, heats it up, creates these bubbles from the vapor expanding, and if that's let go long enough, eventually it'll expand to the point where it just bursts open. Then you'll have all these bursting open. I want to show you the flashing. Oh boy, better leave that alone. This was not flashed correctly to begin with. Probably 20, 30 years ago, when it was put down with a hot kettle and a hot mop, maybe it was bonded together. However, in the decades since that have passed, not only is the flashing open, but you can see that it's failed to bond entirely. Again, water can run just right under there, being on the slope. However, the fact is this roof has a graduated pitch is what has saved you, because if this was a flat roof, you'd be replacing decking it like we had to do over there. That was probably due to age. Anyway, the flashing's open everywhere. Well, like I said, there's not a lot of wood that has to be replaced here, just the apex points of the rake's eaves. Right here. There's another one over there. There's the far side over yonder. The rakes are the A-frame edges. And the eave is the bottom of it. Just for simple English. But again, they installed this wrong. Maybe 20, 30 years ago, this was hot and it was bonded originally, but this looks like it fell short. I don't want to pull on this, but pure water, if I can get my fat finger under there, certainly water can run underneath there. That is probably a combination of this. Look, you have the slant, water falls, goes right underneath. This was hot tar that was sealed to the metal 20, 30 years ago. And again, you have these bubbles everywhere. The bubbles aren't the issue. They're an indicator of a larger problem, which is all these cracks and splits. There's literally millions of them. Fissures everywhere. Same issue here. Now you have some waviness to the roof. Don't worry about that. I'm 220. I'm pretty solid. Your roof is solid. Somebody tried to put some silicone here to stop an issue. But again, this is the low side. Just because you see water in a low area doesn't mean that's where the water's coming from. It's coming from any one of these thousands of fissures in the actual material. How do you know that? Again, you got a 2-foot long bubble here and a 4-foot long bubble over there. Another one above it. There's another one above that, another one there. There's an 8-foot one there. But remember, the bubbles are not the issue. It's just the age of the roof, unfortunately. I did my weekend in 06, and as far as I know, nobody's been on this roof since then. This cap sheet, again, 30 years ago was probably heated towards the deck. 30 years of expanding and contracting, and she's giving all she's got to give. Here's a huge one. Can you see this? It's double. So what will happen is the water will keep getting into here, into these fissures. It'll roll down. The sun comes out, heats that water, turns it into vapor. And believe it or not, it's unbelievably strong. And it expands until it just bursts open. So to come up here and cut a bubble and put a piece of rubber over it, cut a bubble, you could do 120 of them and still have other bubbles appearing. Remember that this is granulated material, so you can't put an aluminum coating on here. Number one, because aluminum is not a waterproofer. It's a UV reflector and moisturizer. However, the chemical compound, the petroleum content in aluminum, reacts negatively with the bonding element that they put the granules on this type of rubber. Nowadays, we've improved roofing material has improved to the point where you can just put down an entirely new rubber system because it's no longer the weight. This old hot asphalt roof system was 80 pounds per 10 square foot. Now we have the system, because you had to put the hot asphalt down, a 4-layer roll of base, fiberglass base, run another mop, run another layer of base, run another mop, run another layer of base, run another mop, run another layer of base, and all that was getting hot asphalt mopped onto the deck. Then, when that was done, you came back and you mopped out the rubber. So you can see that was, it's understandable why they came up with the new system. Now, the rubber is 80 pounds for 100 square foot versus 10. So, what I would recommend is pop this metal along the rake edges, cut your bubbles, reflash every perforation there, the chimney, this chimney, that vent, and run those in rubber, and then run all new rubber across the field. And I love this place so much. It's changed my life and set up a spark, a holy fire for the Lord that I have tried to share with every man that I've met, probably numbering in the thousands over the last 16 years. And so see what we can't do to keep the price down, because prices are ridiculous right now. My life and the lives of so many men have been impacted by the time I spent here. This place is sacred to me. For what does a man profit to gain the whole world, lose his own soul? So we need to come up with a fair price, but also one low enough that reflects the spiritual exchange that this place has had. I'm sorry to say that this is it's material failure. That's what's causing these. And they are everywhere. Can you see that? everywhere. And there's just going to be more. Yeah, be a good idea to get it before it ices.